Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I am PANCZASU, and I have a few minutes for Enter the Gungeon. I'm extraordinarily excited to show this game to you, mostly because it may or may not be causing quite a bit of delay on my ally playthrough. Sorry for that. Anyway, Enter the Gungeon. What is this game? Well, if you know anything about a game called The Binding of Isaac, then you already know what Enter the Gungeon is. Since they are kind of similar, except in my opinion, Enter the Gungeon is far better, but that I mean its mechanics are far superior. It has an amazing soundtrack, although you could also argue that Binding of Isaac also had a good soundtrack. I personally prefer Enter the Gungeons. And additionally, and very importantly, Enter the Gungeon has a very different aesthetic compared to The Binding of Isaac. You see, I loved The Binding of Isaac's idea when it came out, and I really tried playing it a lot, except I legitimately hated the aesthetics. Every time I played that game, it made me feel guilty for some reason, and bad, so in the end I barely ever played it. And The Binding of Isaac Rebirth? Yeah, I don't even think I have an hour in that game, despite the fact that I love the concept. Now, for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, who don't know what The Binding of Isaac or Enter the Gungeon are, the idea of the game is fairly simple. It is an action roguelite dungeon crawler. You get tossed into a dungeon. Your goal is to beat the current floor's boss in order to reach the next floor, and you keep doing this until you beat the final boss and win the game. That's at least the case with most roguelites of this genre. I'm not sure if that's the case in Enter the Gungeon, since I have actually never finished it just yet. It's relatively difficult, and I've only played it for about, I don't know, a few hours. Still, I'm loving the few hours I have played of it thus far. Now, there are of course going to be enemies that will try to stop you from reaching your goal, duh. And by defeating them you get either items or currency to buy those items that will make your life a lot easier, and especially they will give you more guns which are just fun to use. Now, a big disclaimer, I absolutely love Enter the Gungeon. I love the gunplay because it feels very meaty and satisfying. Even the most basic gear that you start off with feels satisfying. Like, I didn't actually know I have a problem with The Binding of Isaac's tears. I actually didn't feel like there's a problem with that. They felt satisfying. Now they no longer do, trust me, because the guns in this game, oh, they punch so nicely. Assuming the bullets punch people. Well, I suppose you could say that they do. Either way, so that's one thing I love about this game. The other, again, the soundtrack, and finally, there's so many different gun types in this game, it's incredible, and the synergies just... I mean, the synergies aren't that numerous, but just the creativity behind the guns alone is astonishingly amazing. Now, additionally, this game has several other improvements over The Binding of Isaac. For example, it has the teleport feature, which I loved a lot, mostly because it saves you a lot of time on walking, which normally would have been a very big pain in the A, as it was sometimes in The Binding of Isaac, and sometimes is in this game as well. I'm not sure why there isn't the ability to teleport to every room, except to only some rooms, because sometimes there is a bit of needless walking in this game, but I suppose that's alright. It's already nice that there is, at the very least, a teleport feature. And additionally, there's also a very cool feature called the dodge roll. You can dodge roll at any point in time, and the first half of the dodge gives you invulnerability, so you can literally dodge into an explosion and still be fine, which I like a lot. It means that there is more than one way for you to evade shots, unlike in Binding of Isaac, where the only way to evade shots is to walk to the side of them, obviously. Now, I personally love this. Additionally, there is also table flipping, which people really love. For me, it's like, if you have an item related to table flipping, and there are those kind of items in the game, trust me, then yes, sure, it's pretty cool. Otherwise, it's like you create another temporary wall for yourself, which sometimes is necessary, and it's a cool addition to the mechanic, I suppose. It's just not very meaningful in my opinion. Now, one criticism I have of this game is the fact that the very first floor, in my opinion, lacks a bit of variety. Sure, at the very first, when you start playing this game, it feels extraordinarily filled with content and various content as well, but what I think the devs of this game forgot, and the dev of every roguelite ever forgot, is that every time you play a game, in this case Enter the Gungeon, you will always reach level 1 because that's where you start. You will see the most of it, and thus it should be the most varied. Instead, it's not. Instead, it's just as varied, if not even less, than the later levels. It has less surprises waiting in it, and it can get a little bit repetitive. I haven't gotten sick of it yet, but I have my suspicions that I might in the future. The amount of bosses that you can access on this level are only 3. At least that's how many bosses I have seen so far, and I'm pretty sure that's the maximum. Might be wrong. And in general, it feels like the first level should have a few more types of enemies, even if they are also considered basic and extraordinary easy to fight. There should be a little bit more variety in my opinion, but that's just a little bit of nitpicking that I believe is necessary in the genre, since first levels, they are always a little bit ignored. People think that first level, oh, it's not cool, so there's no need to look at it. Instead, let's focus on the later levels. Wrong, because the first level is the one that's most important in my opinion. Now, I'll give you my brief opinion on the very first 4 starting characters in this game, and in the order that I find them to be my favorite. So firstly, let's go with the pilot. Now the pilot is my preferred character if I want to actually do well in the game, because in my opinion it's the best guy that you can play with. First of all, his starting weapon is actually pretty good. It has unlimited ammo, like every weapon in this game. Every starting weapon, I should stress out. Other weapons are limited in terms of ammo. So his starting weapon, it's pretty good. It has 8 shots in total before you need to reload. The damage is pretty decent, the accuracy is also pretty decent. You can do a lot of things with his gun, but it gets better. His active item is the lockpick, which is extremely important because in this game, chests spawn more frequently than actual keys. And you need keys to open chests, meaning that keys are extraordinarily valuable. Now the lockpick of the pilot gives him a chance to open a chest without using a key. You need to activate this item and you need to kill or deal a certain amount of damage in order to recharge the lockpick. Additionally, if you failed lockpicking, then you can never open a chest even if you do try to use a key later on. So you only really want to use this if a chest is... if you suspect the chest to be bad, or if you are out of keys. Still, it's a very nice addition to the character. Additionally, he's got 2 very important passive items. One gives him lower prices in the store, something that I really love a lot. It's not a big discount, but it is a discount, and again, you need to be buying those keys, man. Trust me, you do. Also, cheaper guns, I will never say no to that. And finally, his last passive simply gives him more room to play with. So for example, he can have 2 active items, unlike other characters that can only have 1, which is pretty useful. You can for example have the lockpick and then something that you can use in combat. Or maybe a grappling hook, or maybe 2 combat items, or whatever. There's a lot of things to be said about this general item setup, and I love the pilot as a result of that. He gives... basically, I never die on floor 1 or even 2 with the pilot, and that's saying something because my reflexes are sometimes pretty bad. Now, my second favorite character is the Marine. He's got the best basic gun, especially in combination with his passive, which increases all of his guns' reload and accuracy times. Not times. Accuracy, just accuracy and reload times. Which is actually pretty meaningful since, I mean, his basic gun... if you are unlucky, you will be not having a lot of... well, you'll be not having very good English, bro. You will not have a lot of other guns, because maybe you're unlucky and you never actually found them for some basic reason, random reason. In that case, you will have to rely on your gun with unlimited ammo, especially since maybe the guns you did get are pretty bad or have very little ammo. And your basic gun is actually extraordinarily powerful, the most powerful basic gun. It has 10 shots, which allows you to kill a bunch of enemies, like 3 the most basic enemies without even reloading, and plenty of other tougher enemies with just a single ammo clip, which is kinda meaningful and very important. You can also snap with variety of decent effects with this gun, which I love a lot. Now, as for the other things that the Marine has, they are not very useful. I mean, armor is basically half a heart that you can never get back after you lose it. It also activates a blank, which is kind of pointless. Blanks, by the way, clear the room of all the bullets, but after you get hit, you get a brief moment of invincibility, so blanks that you get from armor itself are usually not that amazing, in my honest opinion. As for his active ability, it costs down ammo, which allows him to refuel ammo fully on one of his weapons. Not his standard weapon, since it has unlimited ammo, but if you pick up a new gun, you can refuel that ammo. Problem with that being, you can only use that item once, so it's just one time use only extra free ammo box. And you rarely ever get to use it, since more often than not, whenever I play as the Marine, annoyingly enough, I get another active item, and basically every active item is better than the ammo box that disappears after 1 use. So yeah, there is that. Also, if you find lots of guns, you usually don't have to worry about replacing ammo in one of them. Especially since his basic gear is so good. So yeah, he does have some worthless items, but his basic gun and passive make up for that, and that's why I like Marine a lot. Now my third favorite character is the Hunter. She has an okayish gun, it has 6 shots, so I mean it can kill 2 basic enemies if you're extremely accurate without reloading. But she does have a crossbow. Now crossbow is pretty good because it lets you beat basically the entire level 1 with little difficulty. It's amazing for sniping, it's very good at killing people without any effort and without getting you into danger. Bit worse against the bosses, but hey, you're not expected to be able to fight bosses relatively easily with just your basic gear, are you? Still, it's very useful in the first level, however later it gets a little bit useless since it actually has fairly little damage output and it's a pain to reload. Now additionally she also gets a doggy. The dog is cute and that's about it. It does increase the chance of items dropping in a room, which I suppose is okay, except the increasement is very low. He is useful for one other thing that might otherwise get you killed if you don't have the dog, but I don't want to spoil things for you. So let's just say the dog has another use that is not documented in the Ammonomicon, that sometimes I wish I had the dog because it would have saved my runs. That's all I'm gonna say about that. And last but I wanted to say by no means least, but perhaps it is the least important character, is the Convict. She starts with a really bad gun, only 5 clips, meaning that she can only kill 1 basic enemy with a single round without reloading. That's kind of rubbish. She also gets a sort of shotgun, which sounds great until you realize that in order to kill a basic enemy, you need to walk right next to him. And I do mean right that. I mean at the point where you're almost literally touching that enemy. So that's the kind of spread that this shotgun has. It's very unreliable, it has extraordinarily low range and actually surprisingly little damage as well. Against some of the bulkier enemies it is okay-ish, but I'll still pick for example Marine's basic gun over the sort of shotgun any day of the week. And it has limited ammo to top it off. It's better than Convict's basic gun at short range, and worse than it at long range, which is saying something, so it's pretty bad. The Convict also has the Molotov, which I suppose is okay, but it requires us a little bit to do so to be actually good, and the Convict also has the Fortitude that allows her to get enraged every time she is damaged, which can be useful, I admit, especially against some bosses. It can allow you to tear them to pieces, but you ideally don't want the bosses to actually hit you, because if you beat a boss without taking damage, you get a bonus. So, in all, I don't really like the Convict all that much. Now, before I end this video, I want to give a few tips for you that are basically quality of life improvements that the game doesn't actually tell you about. First of all, when you press fire, when your magazine is empty, it actually works in the same way as if you pressed a reload button, which may be useful, for example, when you're playing as the pilot, or the Hunter, more likely, since she has exactly 6 clips, which is usually exactly what you need to kill 2 enemies. Now, additionally, whenever you fight a boss, you can press E to skip the cutscene, which again is something that the game doesn't tell you about. Anything else? Unequipped guns reload when the room is over. That's also something that lets you not bother about them, but you should be able to find out about this by yourself. And last but by no means least, very importantly, if a basic enemy, so a no boss enemy, an enemy that isn't a boss, hits you, then that enemy doesn't spawn money. So you don't want to get hit, because if you get hit, then that enemy that hit you isn't going to give you money. So that's something to keep in mind. Anyway, that's it from me. Thank you very much for watching. It was PANCZASU, also known as the mighty MIG Spammer. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you online.